Have you ever felt like you were walking on a conversational minefield when dealing with a specific person? Say one wrong thing and boom, it explodes. Try to stand up for yourself and suddenly you're the one who's guilty of every cardinal sin. If this sounds familiar, chances are you've been dealing with a narcissist. These masters of manipulation thrive on your emotions and your attention. But what if I told you there's a secret arsenal of techniques that won't just protect you, but will literally drive any narcissist insane? In this video, we will reveal 10 such things. These aren't just tips, they are psychological keys designed to strip the manipulator of their power. Watch until the end, and you'll learn how to transform yourself from a victim into the person the narcissist starts to fear. Before we jump into our arsenal, let's quickly understand exactly who we are dealing with. A narcissist isn't just someone who is self-obsessed. Deep in their psychology lies a huge black hole where their self-esteem should be, a void they desperately try to fill using others. This hunger is known as narcissistic supply. This supply can be admiration, fear, your anger, or your tears, any intense emotion. To them, you aren't a person. You are merely a function, a source of that supply. Their main goal is control. By controlling you and your reactions, they feel significant and powerful. Understanding this simple mechanism, the hunger for supply and the thirst for control, is the foundation for all the techniques we will discuss today. We aren't going to try and change them. We are going to cut off their air supply by denying them the very thing they crave most. So, our first, and perhaps most fundamental technique is called the grey rock method. Picture a grey, utterly boring rock lying by the side of the road. Do you pay attention to it? No. Do you try to talk to it? No. It triggers absolutely no emotional response in you. Your goal is to become exactly that rock for the narcissist. When they try to provoke an argument, trigger guilt, or flood you with dramatic sob stories about their suffering, you must respond as briefly, dryly, and unemotionally as possible. Use phrases like yes, no, okay, or I see. Provide no details about your personal life, offer no emotional reactions whatsoever, and absolutely do not argue. You essentially become an informational and emotional dead end for them. Initially, this will confuse them. They will try to double down and increase the pressure, attempting to pierce your armor and get their required emotional fix. But you must remain steady as a rock. So why does this deceptively simple method drive them absolutely insane? It all comes down to narcissistic supply. The narcissist is an emotional vampire who feeds entirely on drama. Your tears, your screaming, your justifications, your anger, that's their gourmet meal. But when he runs into the grey rock, he starves. He wastes massive energy on provocation, only to be met with total emptiness. It's like shouting into the void for his massive, inflated ego, which demands constant reaction and affirmation from the world. This is simply unbearable. He cannot comprehend why someone so magnificent and so important as him is simply being ignored. It shatters his entire script, where he is the director and you are the puppet. Imagine an actor on stage delivering a fiery, dramatic monologue, and the entire audience is silently looking at their phones. That is precisely how the narcissist feels when you deploy the grey rock method. The next powerful tool is clearly establishing and fiercely protecting your personal boundaries. To a narcissist, your boundaries simply do not exist. They feel completely entitled to invade your time, your space, your decisions, and your emotions. They will call you in the middle of the night, give unsolicited advice, criticize every choice you make, and demand your attention 24/7. Your task is simple: build a wall. And not just build it, but clearly define its limits and actively defend it. This is done using simple, yet firm and assertive phrases, For example, "I can't talk right now, I will call you back tomorrow." Or, "Thank you for your input, but I'm going to do things my way. I'm not willing to discuss this topic. Please do not raise your voice at me." The key here is this: do not apologize, do not justify, do not explain yourself. You do not have to prove your right to set boundaries. You simply state them as fact. This infuriates the narcissist for several key reasons. First, it is a direct challenge to his sense of entitlement and control. How dare someone forbid the center of the universe from doing something? This undermines the very foundation of his worldview. Second, boundaries cut off his access to resources. If he can't call you at 3 in the morning to dump his negativity, he loses his emotional dumping ground. Third, your firmness, delivered without aggression or lengthy justifications, totally stumps him. He is used to people either immediately folding or engaging in an emotional argument, an argument he always wins because, for him, there are no rules. But here, you simply say no, calmly and confidently. This breaks his programming. Picture this: he tries to open a door, and suddenly, in its place, is a solid brick wall. His first reaction is shock, the second is fury and an attempt to smash right through it. But if the wall holds firm, he will eventually storm off in a rage to find another door. Let's move on to the third technique. This one demands patience, but the results are truly phenomenal. The technique itself is simple, maintaining absolute, icy calm in the face of any provocation. A narcissist is a true master of provocation. They know exactly which emotional buttons to push to trigger the reaction they crave: rage, hurt, or crippling guilt. They might insult you, completely devalue your achievements, or dredge up old mistakes, all with one goal: to make you snap. Because the moment you start yelling, crying, or trying to defend yourself, they win. They secure their narcissistic supply and then get the satisfaction of saying, "See, I told you how hysterical or unstable you are." Your job is simple. Do not give them the satisfaction. When they launch their attack, visualize yourself as a scientist observing an interesting yet entirely predictable specimen. Observe them with light, clinical curiosity, without allowing any emotional involvement whatsoever. Remember to breathe deeply. Respond neutrally, or better yet, stay completely silent and let them talk straight into the void. Why is this tactic so incredibly powerful? Your emotional reaction confirms and validates his control over you. But when you remain calm, you send him a truly powerful signal. You have no hold over me? Your words mean absolutely nothing. This hits him right where it hurts the most: his significance. He invested so much energy trying to provoke you, and yet you're sitting there with a perfect poker face. This silence completely invalidates him. He feels stupid, foolish, and utterly powerless. It's the equivalent of a comedian desperately trying to get a laugh, only for the room to meet his act with deafening silence. His entire arsenal of manipulation becomes instantly useless. He won't know what to do next because his usual script has been completely broken. He might try to ramp up the pressure, perhaps even resort to direct insults, but if you continue to maintain that calm, he will eventually burn out, exhausting all his energy for nothing. This strips him not only of his resources, but also of his sense of control, and for a person like that, that is simply intolerable. The fourth, very clever technique is what I like to call diplomatic judo. This involves swapping out you statements for we statements, particularly when you need to bring up an issue with a narcissist. Narcissists simply cannot tolerate criticism. Any phrase that starts with you, such as "you didn't take out the trash again" or "you hurt my feelings," is immediately viewed as a direct assault on their perfect, idealized self-image. This instantly triggers their defense mechanisms: denial, counter-accusation, or outright gaslighting. Instead, try reframing the problem so it sounds like a shared challenge. For instance, instead of saying, "You never listen to me," try, "It feels like we have a communication breakdown here. Let's figure this out together." Or instead of "You are always late," you can substitute it with, "We need to work on managing our time better so that we aren't rushing around and late for things." This is a subtle shift, but it is a critically important tactic. What does this technique do to the narcissist? It completely pulls the rug out from under them. They are primed for an attack. They have their counter-arguments loaded, but the expected assault never comes. You don't launch a personal attack. Instead, you propose solving our shared problem. It becomes significantly harder for them to go straight into defense mode and start blaming you when you position yourself right alongside them. It totally throws them off. Of course, they might still try to twist the narrative to make you the villain, but their usual defense mechanisms are far less effective. They are forced to either accept that the issue is shared, which is already uncomfortable for them, or look completely unreasonable by refusing a constructive proposal. This technique forces their brain to work in an unfamiliar mode. They simply cannot operate on autopilot. It's like throwing a complicated logic puzzle at them the moment they were gearing up for a fight. They become flustered and irritated because they cannot rely on their standard manipulations. The fifth point in our program is absolute commitment, a laser focus on facts, not emotions. Any argument with a narcissist is designed to drag you into a swamp of feelings, accusations, interpretations, and memories, which they will inevitably twist to suit their narrative. They will throw out phrases like, "You always do that," "You never appreciated me," or "You're trying to hurt my feelings." These are purely emotional manipulations that lack any concrete basis or verifiable substance. Your weapon is the fact. Dry, verifiable, undeniable facts. Instead of engaging in a pointless back and forth about who felt what, stick strictly to the data. Use concrete statements. "You said you would be home by 7. It is now 9 o'clock. That is a fact. We agreed you would pay this bill. Here is the invoice. It remains unpaid. That is a fact." Do not allow them to derail the conversation. The moment they start, but remember 3 years ago when you calmly bring them back to the subject. We are not discussing that right now. We are discussing this specific fact. This drives the narcissist absolutely insane because facts are their kryptonite. He simply can't argue his way around them. He can't distort facts the way he easily twists emotions and memories. The world of facts is objective reality, while the narcissist lives inside his own self-created delusion where he is always right. When you corner him with an undeniable fact, you shatter his entire illusory world. This leaves him with only two outs. Either he acknowledges the fact, which is complete ego death for him, or he throws a massive tantrum and accuses you of being cruel and petty. He almost always chooses the latter, but even then you win because you refused to engage with his manipulation or sink into his emotional quicksand. You stood your ground on the solid footing of reality while he is left alone, facing his own lies and his inability to accept the truth. This completely undermines his sense of authority, most importantly in his own eyes, even though he will never ever show it. Tactic number 6. Stop apologizing. People who are in long-term relationships with a narcissist often develop a habit of apologizing for everything under the sun, for their feelings, for their desires, for the weather, or even for the narcissist's bad mood. The manipulator deliberately instills guilt in you to keep you compliant and easily managed. Any attempt you make to stand up for yourself or express dissatisfaction will be met with an accusation. "This is all your fault, you pushed me too far." Over time, you start to believe this and apologize on autopilot simply to end the conflict. Well, this has to stop. Once and for all. Stop taking responsibility for their emotions and their reactions. You have the right to your own feelings. You have the right to want things. You do not have to apologize simply for existing. Only apologize when you are genuinely wrong. In all other cases, remain silent or firmly stand your ground. Why does the lack of an apology enrage a narcissist so fiercely? Because every apology you give is a vital dose of narcissistic supply. It validates their correctness, reinforces their power, and confirms your submission. When you stop apologizing, you effectively shut off that faucet. They fully expect you to take the blame, as usual, and resolve the conflict according to their script. But this time, you refuse to apologize. You either look at them in silence, or you calmly state, "I don't believe I have anything to apologize for in this situation." This delivers a shock to their entire system. It signifies that their guilt manipulation is no longer effective. They are losing one of their primary levers of control over you. They will fly into a rage. They will accuse you of callousness, selfishness, anything they can think of. But what you are witnessing is the sheer fury of powerlessness. Imagine you pull the rope expecting a bell to ring, but it stays silent. You tug harder, then yank it violently, but all you get in return is absolute silence. That is exactly what happens to the narcissist when you withhold those undeserved apologies. The seventh method is especially effective when dealing with a narcissist in a social or work setting, the strategy of public, yet polite, disagreement. Narcissists absolutely love projecting the image of an all-knowing expert and an ideal individual. They often make loud, sweeping, and often non-negotiable statements, expecting universal agreement and admiration. Most people either stay silent, unwilling to start a confrontation, or they simply nod along. Your job is to disrupt this chorus of agreement. When they make an obviously false statement or distort the facts during a meeting or among friends, you can calmly and politely interject, saying, "I apologize, but I actually have slightly different information on that matter. According to the latest report, the figures are X, Y, and Z." Or you might say, "That's certainly an interesting perspective, but I happen to hold a different view." The key words here are calm and polite. Absolutely no aggression and no personal attacks. Stick strictly to the facts and your own opinion, which differs clearly from theirs. What is going through the narcissist's mind in that moment? A total catastrophe. The public facade he so meticulously built has just cracked. You didn't just disagree with him, you did it in front of his audience, the very source of his supply. This completely undermines his authority and casts serious doubt on his competence. Since you did it politely, he can't openly attack you. That would look completely unhinged. He is trapped. He is now forced to either argue his position, which is often impossible if he fabricated it, or he has to attempt to humiliate you, and that is a major risk. This tactic strips him of control over the audience. He is accustomed to being the sole source of truth. But then you show up and expose the fact that the emperor has no clothes. He will remember this forever, and he will despise you because you have attacked the most sacred thing to him, his public image. The eighth thing guaranteed to destabilize a narcissist is total indifference to their so-called achievements and every attempt they make to win your admiration. Narcissists have an insatiable, constant need for applause and validation. They will relentlessly brag about their successes, which are frequently embellished or outright fabricated, drone on about how loved and appreciated they are, and constantly flash their expensive new toys. Everything they do is aimed at achieving one goal, getting a reaction, whether it's your admiration, your praise, or your jealousy. This is essential fuel for their ego. Your job is simply to deny them that fuel. When they launch into their latest self-congratulatory monologue, you maintain a poker face. You do not ask any clarifying questions, and you absolutely do not say, "Wow, that's so cool." At best, you might offer a minimal nod and say, "I see," before immediately switching the conversation to an entirely mundane, everyday topic. For instance, after they spend half an hour detailing their genius negotiation tactics, your sole response is, "Right. Oh, hey, by the way, don't forget to grab milk and bread on your way home tonight." This is pure devaluation, and for a narcissist, it's far worse than a direct insult. A direct insult is still a strong emotion. It's still supply. But your indifference, that's just a void. It sends him the signal. The thing you consider incredibly important means absolutely nothing to me. This strikes at the very core of his identity. He worked so hard, perhaps even rehearsing that whole speech, just to impress you, and you simply ignored his performance. This makes him feel not just insignificant, but utterly invisible. This triggers a narcissistic injury because his grandiose self just collided with total, undeniable indifference. He will be filled with rage and total bewilderment. He might even ask directly, "Are you not interested?" And you can calmly reply, "Oh, I am interested. I was just thinking about what to make for dinner." This technique immediately strips him of his primary tool for self-affirmation, bragging. The ninth point, and this one might be the most rewarding for you and the most agonizing for the narcissist, it's your own success and happiness achieved entirely without their involvement. The narcissist needs to be the absolute center of your universe. They demand that your life, your emotions, your successes, and your failures revolve entirely around them. They frequently, sometimes subconsciously, sometimes very deliberately, sabotage your attempts to grow, whether that means finding a new hobby, meeting up with friends, or advancing your career. It benefits them greatly if you remain dependent and slightly unhappy, because that makes you much easier to control. Therefore, the most terrifying thing you can possibly do to a narcissist is to become genuinely happy and truly successful. Find work you actually love, get into fitness, travel, surround yourself with positive people. Fill your life with purpose, leaving absolutely no room left for the narcissist. Why does this drive him absolutely crazy? Your success is undeniable, living proof of how insignificant and irrelevant he is to your life. It shatters his biggest myth, the deeply held belief that you are nothing without him. When he sees you flourishing, thriving, completely independent of him, his inflated ego pops like a cheap balloon. This triggers vicious jealousy and intense rage. He cannot claim your achievements. He cannot control them. Your success acts as a mirror, forcing him to look at his own profound emptiness. He'll immediately try to dismiss your wins, minimizing them by saying, "Oh, a promotion, everyone gets those." Or he'll try to claim credit, insisting, "You only did that because of my support." But you know the truth, and your genuine happiness, utterly independent of him, will be a perpetual, silent accusation, a constant reminder that will haunt him and ultimately drive him insane. And finally, the 10th technique. This is the ultimate weapon, the nuclear option when dealing with a narcissist. This is complete no contact. If the situation allows, meaning you are not tied to this person by shared children or work, the most effective way to strip them of their power is to vanish completely from their life. Block their phone number, delete them from all social media platforms, and actively avoid any places where you might run into them. There are no farewell talks and absolutely no explanations. Just disappear. This is not a sign of weakness or cowardice. This is an act of ultimate self-care. and the most powerful blow you can ever land on the narcissist's ego. You don't just stop giving them supply, you eliminate their very possibility of obtaining that supply in the future. You erase them from your reality. For a narcissist, going full no contact without explanation is the ultimate punishment. Why? It's because it completely deprives him of closure. He can't stage his dramatic final scene, he can't make his parting accusations, and he doesn't get to slam the door last. You simply deny him the final curtain call on his own show. This is an absolute loss of control. He can't text you, he can't call, he can't fix things, and crucially, he can't mess things up further. You have willingly decided that he simply no longer exists to you. This sends him one devastating message. You are so insignificant to me that I don't even owe you an explanation. It's a total and unconditional annihilation of his status in your life. He will be enraged. He'll try desperately to reach you through mutual friends, but in the end, he will be left alone to face the void you created in his place, and that will absolutely drive him insane. Okay, let's recap everything we've covered. We went through 10 powerful techniques designed to strip the narcissist of their control. Everything from mastering the grey rock method and setting ironclad boundaries to prioritizing your own happiness and, ultimately, going full no contact. The main takeaway here is crucial. You can not change the narcissist, but you absolutely can change the rules of the game. Stop reacting, start acting, stop performing in their drama, start writing your own script. Every single one of these methods is a vital step toward reclaiming control over your life and your emotions. This is the path from helplessness to empowerment. Remember, your most valuable asset is your peace of mind, and no one has the right to take that away from you. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way through. If you found it helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our future videos on psychology and self-improvement. Now I have a question for you. Which of these techniques have you already put into practice? Or maybe you have your own secret method for dealing with manipulators. Share your story in the comments below and let's help each other out.